I'm Ward Green, the founder of SAGE. That's Senior Advocates for Generational Equity. At SAGE, we have a mentoring program that pairs seniors with elementary and middle school kids who need help, either in reading or math, and our program allows them to excel. But it also gives seniors an opportunity to have a meaningful, connected, and important relationship with these kids.
Hi, I'm Phyllis Leonard. I taught high school mathematics for the first few years out of college when a colleague friend, Marcus Wood, asked me, knowing that I had taught mathematics, asked me if I would be a mentor tutor for this SAGE program in 5th grade math. And I really wondered, and it makes me laugh now, but I really wondered whether I could be effective. And I am so grateful that I said yes. I tried it, and from the very beginning, I felt like it was quite a joyful experience.
Candace Jimenez. I'm a citizen of the Confederated Tribes of Warm Springs, and we heard about the SAGE program through some of the first days here at Parkrose Middle School when our son was starting 7th grade. And the program has gone really well for him. We've seen a rise in his confidence both at home and here at school. His grades have improved, and he's also been able to improve and be more confident too in his writing and ability to just be more open in the classroom as well, raising his hand and being more engaged in his different classroom activities.
I think you have to enjoy reading. First of all, you have to enjoy reading because you're going to wind up reading a variety of different books with your student, but you also have to enjoy being with children. And you have to be children, especially middle school students, are exploring ideas and have various kinds of interests and enthusiasms, and so you have to be flexible. But we've all been teenagers before, and so it's fun. It's fun to be around them.
Kids are really troubled these days with competing, school competing with all the social media, the internet, and all that stuff, that I think it pulls them in different directions, and it's important to have a person-to-person connection rather than something that's, just words or short phrases online.
Is that because they both
radiate? It's like shine.
Nature magic.
It's worthwhile. You get to spend time with kids and give them positive reinforcement and help them with schoolwork and everything else that might come up.
As a teacher, I see SAGE being not only growing academically, but also emotionally, and the kids have a stronger self-concept and stronger self-esteem. The teachers have reported that they have way more confidence, especially after the 3-year period that they've worked with 6th, 7th, and 8th grade.
SAGE provides a book for me and a book for my mentee, and that's been a powerful, believe it or not, strategy. Either we read on Zoom, read to each other, or in person, and I just take notes, and if the student stumbles on certain words, and we keep track, and I give them some strategies, and almost all the mentors are doing this.
Started this partnership with SAGE about 5 years ago. We actually started during the pandemic, and it's been a really beneficial partnership for us. We've been able to take older adults in the community or outside of the Parkrose community and partner them with students in our school who need extra support. Oftentimes we are seeing students come in at 6th grade who have a skill gap or a language gap gap, if they're an ELD student, and having that extra support with a mentor has been absolutely critical. We serve students at about a 1 to 25 to 30 ratio with our staff here in Park Rose Middle School, and so being able to provide one-on-one time with an adult where they're working on reading and potentially writing and getting that support.
The reading today is from Proverbs 20 through 29. The glory of youth is their strength, but the beauty of the aged is their gray hair. And also from Proverbs 15:22, without counsel, plans go wrong, but with many advisors, they succeed.
I love those passages. Also, I'm starting to notice a little bit of gray hair popping in. So I'm trying to embrace it. You know, this is my beauty now. Once a month, we have the privilege of being able to hear from and have a conversation with folks from the community, like the broader community, outside of the walls of the congregation. And we've had some really wonderful partnerships arise through these, while some others pre-existed and we got to know them a bit better. I'm very excited for this conversation because this is a topic that comes up pretty often. How do we support our schools? How do we support kids in the area? And also, another one that comes up often without people saying a word is how do I connect with other people? And I think one of the things that I appreciate about our back and forth so far is that's something that is on both of your radars and is part of this invitation that you have to share with us today. So Carol, Sweeney, Marvin Kaiser, please come on up. Make yourselves at home. Here, yeah. Okay. So the way that I prefer to start each one of these conversations, oh, I almost forgot, I gotta take this out. Something I do for each one of these is scroll on my phone and check out the news. No, I'm putting a timer on for 30 minutes so that nobody feels like they've been held captive to a conversation longer than they wanted to be, okay? Because we get to have coffee and cookies after this, and that's important business. So, all right, I'm gonna put this right here. There you go. One of the things I like to ask for each and every one of these conversations is how do you want to be introduced? Not what's on your resume, not what's on the bio on the website that you may happen to have, unless that's the way you would like to be introduced. But what I found is, often when I ask this question, people share something different than what I expected. One time we had somebody share kind of their lineage of how they arrived to be at this time and place. You know, another person shared their hobbies. Still others, you know, here's what would be on my resume. So there's no wrong way to do this. Let's start with you, Carol, and then Marvin. How would you like to introduce yourself?
Well, my name is Carol Sweeney, and I lived in Corvallis for 38 years. I'm a physical therapist. I raised 3 children there. And then eventually, as most of them moved to Portland, about 9 or 10 years ago, we moved up here to be close to kids and grandkids. And it just so happened that my oldest daughter is the principal at Park Rose Middle School. And they had managed to pass a bond levy to build a new middle school. And that's what you see on the video. And it is very nice. So I went out there and I thought, oh my goodness, what a wonderful place. And then she started telling me stories of some of what the kids have to deal with. And so that's how I sort of got started.
Thank you.
Yes, I'm Marvin Kaiser. I'm a Kansas boy. I had the privilege of growing up on a farm in Kansas, and when I went to school beyond that one-room schoolhouse, I thought about how I could be of service. I mean, I saw that in my parents, and it was really important to me. So as life has carried on, I've had the privilege of being a grade school, high school teacher, and the university, and Portland State University brought us to Portland, and obviously we loved that. So to how to say something to me who you are. I'm an old person. And I'm quite delighted with this, but it's old, but how to remain involved, but importantly, and I think a lot about this, how to be sure that I live my life with purpose. And there's some programs across the United States where they talk about encore. That is, what do you do beyond being old? How do you make a difference? So I thank you for bringing us here today to be able to talk about that.
Thank you.
So Marvin and I met through SAGE, which you saw on the video. And that stands for Senior Advocates for Generational Equity. And that's how this little bud started to flourish.
I love that. Well, so I am realizing that most of us probably don't know much about SAGE. Or if you do, I'm completely projecting on top of you, because I didn't know anything about SAGE before we spoke. So I'm wondering if you can share, what is SAGE? What's the mission? What are you seeking to do?
Okay, so SAGE was started with a dream, and Ward Green is the head of SAGE. And one night he had this dream, and he said he didn't normally have dreams, but he saw the name SAGE in his dream. And I think he was a little freaked out. And the next morning he went to his wife and said, I've had this dream that I should start this Senior Advocates for Generational Equity. And she looked at him and she said, you know, just recently I read this Greek proverb, proverb about people who plant, let's see, a society grows great when its elders plant trees in whose shade they know they will never sit in. So that's how Sage got started, and it has grown and developed over the years, and they have this mentoring program that they started, so that's how we got involved.
I love that. Beyond mentoring, what else does Sage do?
Well, they work in the environment, and they also have an economic opportunity section, and then they have a 6-month fellowship where people can attend and have projects that they want to work on.
Thank you.
Yeah.
The reason I ask that is not all of us have the ability or the temperament to work with kids, but that doesn't mean that those folks are unable to contribute in other ways with your organization. Well, I'm aware that you have a particular relationship with the mentorship program. I believe you founded it, right?
No, I attended one.
You attended one, okay.
I attended a fellowship program, and I thought, well, I'll start a mentoring program, because I was all enthused about seeing the school and the kids, and then I thought, oh, that's harder than I thought. So at that point, I actually checked into Experience Corps, which is a national mentoring organization, and I mentored for about 4 years at Sacramento Elementary School in Park Rose. And then the pandemic hit, and then Marvin and I got together and started a mentoring program. And that's how that all started. Marvin, you should tell him the rest.
Yeah, so first of all, you have to find a fine woman who will give leadership. So thank you very much, Carol. We had the privilege, several of us here from Oregon, to be at a program where in 1998, we were called from various cities around the country to come to Philadelphia to where all the living presidents were there, and the purpose of this was should we be doing in our cities and farms to call upon our responsibility to serve young people, to include them in our lives, and to build a sense of service within them. So we came back home, and we created a program. It was called Oregon Mentoring Program, so that we would go out all over the state and talk about creating programs, whether it was Boy Scouts or 4-H or church-related service projects, so that becomes part of who they are. But what was strange to me was I said to the group, why don't we have older adults also involved in working with children? Some of these folks have time, some have great wisdom. And the response always was, well, kids don't want to be around old people. I mean, it was stunning to me to have that kind of a statement made. So when Carol and I got together with Sage, it was obvious to us that given the intergenerational commitment of Sage, that we were going to find a way to find the needs of children in schools, but also to bring older adults into this relationship, and that was really the genesis of this program, which started 5 years ago with Park Rose, because the other part of it is to find someone, and that is the principal, Annette Sweeney, who said, wow, this sounds really good. Older people, kids. That's the message.
It's so true and heartbreaking that our society and even some of our nonprofits have this bias against folks over the age of, I want to say 65.
Yeah.
You know, you just age out of being able to share knowledge. You age out of being able to build relationships somehow. You age out of relevancy. And I worked with youth a good chunk of my career, and I've found that that's not true. It's not true, but it is a message that so many of us believe, unfortunately. And I think it really is hurtful, not just for kids, but for a broader society and for many of us when we reach that age on. You know, I wonder, show of hands, have you ever felt like I don't want to say you're there yet, but you are creeping towards an age of irrelevancy? Like, just show of hands? Yeah, you've got nothing left to contribute, guys. I'm sorry. No, that's not true.
So I grew up in a little tiny town in Missouri, and my grandmother lived with me from the time I was 2 on, and my parents were teachers, so she took care of me during the day. She could do no wrong in my eyes. She was amazing. I loved her with all my heart. I think it elevated my childhood probably more than almost anything that happened to me. And so I have great respect for older people. I happen to be 81 right now, and I'm not getting younger. It's
yeah.
And Marvin's older than I am.
Wow.
Anyway, kids like older people, especially if you like kids.
Yeah.
It's not hard. If you love a child, one of the quotes that you couldn't see very well was, every child deserves to be irrationally loved by an older person. And I think that's true. And that is one of the things that a lot of kids are missing these days. And that's one of the things that all of us can give. So we are here looking for you, wanting to be a mentor to a student. And I know that you all have the ability to do that if you desire.
What does the need look like? You know, why does mentoring matter?
Well, part of it is this disconnect. There's data out there that in 100 years ago in the United States, we were the most country with intergenerational, two and three generations together. We now, in that 100 years, there were about 15% of kids live in a multi-generational family. So we've flipped, kind of who we are as a notion. And so this kind of notion that we're talking about in some ways, kids don't have that kind of day-to-day relationship generationally with grandmas and grandpas in their homes. So we have kind of two needs. In some ways, the entry, of course, is about what happened with the pandemic and the impact that had on children in particular, you know, in terms of sitting somewhere with their what I would say, their phone or their computer, and we had kids, for instance, at Park Rose, who we worked with them, but they wouldn't put their face on the computer. You know, this is kind of disconnect in some ways. So what happens here is that the teachers identify youngsters for us that are really struggling with their academic life, particularly as you know, we spend a lot of time in reading, and in the Prescott School we also do this in math, so that's there. But the second part, of course, is this kind of notion of connection, that we can spend time together with an older adult.
Thank you. So when I was in high school in a rural town in Oregon, I remember that we were hitting the bottom of the chart nationwide, or where we should be in reading and other levels of achievement. But reading's the one that really stood out to me. And so when I think of this, I connect this to my experience growing up in a school with very few resources. And yet this is a resource that exists plentifully around us. Other adults who can come alongside a child. I was also part of TAG, the Talented and Gifted program. And so the school didn't know what to do with TAG, but I had adults checking in with me from time to time. And I've often thought it is a real shame that they didn't have a program that was aiming to do the inverse of that. You know, adults who are coming alongside folks who are just they're not hitting those achievement tests. I mean, those were my friends, and they were smarter than people gave them credit for, but I got opportunities that some of them just wouldn't get. And that shapes the whole rest of your life.
How? Well, we think that, well, right now we have about 30 mentors. And we have one teacher in the middle school who is in charge of identifying students who need help. And so we think that if we can add more mentors, then obviously we can help more kids. And the other thing is we help more mentors. One of the things we do that has turned out to be exceeded my expectations completely is that once a month we have a meeting for the mentors, and it's online, so you don't have to leave your home. But we do continuing ed. Different mentors will present a program. We get into small groups online and talk to each other. And it's been quite inspiring, at least to me, and I think we have had very, very good attendance at these meetings. So that's the kind of support we've tried to generate for the mentors. And then we have a party every spring for the mentors, the mentees, the families, everyone. And we have that at the middle school. So we're constantly trying to develop and reach out and help all these kids. And we have some pretty inspiring stories about that. And I think Marvin had one he was going to share about.
Yeah, I wanted to, a woman who's been with us for, four years, I think. She is a woman. She's not been married. She doesn't have children or grandchildren. So, but she said, I'd like to be part of this. Interestingly enough, she said it was problematic. This young boy that our teacher said, can we work together for her and this son? And so around reading, so he would not show up, and she got real discouraged. And so talked with the teacher, which is what we do when we work with them. And so the mom didn't know that he wasn't showing up. He's a smart little kid. I'm not going to tell my parent. So when mom found out, and she made this little guy write a letter to the mentor about why he wasn't showing up. But what happened with that letter, he began to show up, and he showed up every time, and then his brother began to show up. So that when we say show up, that's that half an hour to an hour twice a week was there, and they were doing this face to face. And of the two boys, the second one, just this summer, said, well, I don't want to stop during the summer. I want us to be working together. And they meet an hour each week during the summer. So this kind of sense of persistence and the relationship that was built was there. So these are the kinds of stories. Now back to the first little guy. He just at this last year, he jumped 3 grades on his reading from where he was, just by this kind of persistence that they had together. So those are the kind of nice stories. I personally, the little guy that I was working with twice a week, he jumped 2 grades in reading. And I think part of this is we said we came out of COVID, and to understand what are grade level expectations, we have wonderful teachers who are trying to get at that. But we are at Park Rose in some ways because of the need for this. Last year, 33% of 6th graders were reading at expected level. And and this goes with them, because if they're going to thrive and be successful throughout middle school and to get into high school, we would like to get all of these children at grade level expectations if possible.
So I have one more question, and then I want to open it up to the room. So if you've been sitting on a question, you're like, oh, when am I going to get a chance? Hang in there. Steve, thank you. You already have a mic handy. You know what I'm going to ask. That's great. You've mentioned that you see real benefits for the mentors as well. I'm wondering if you can speak to that real quick, and then we'll move on to the room questions. What are the mentors?
I have a quick answer.
Okay.
We have an old guy, and he says, well, it's the reason I get up in the morning. It's his reason for getting up and going.
You want the mic up here?
Oh, this old guy says, it's the reason I get up in the morning. He has never been married. He's never had children before. He absolutely, it's his reason for moving on.
Thank you.
And I want to say, we now have, as Carol said, we have 30 mentors that we work with. Hardly any of these 30 ever came back and said to us, I don't think I can do this anymore. I mean, that's for us, I think it's a way of understanding how important that is to them.
Yeah.
And I think that's the other piece that we really do need to talk about, is the impact on older adults. I happen to have worked a lot with older people in my academic lives, but 31% of older adults in the United States have a sense of purpose in their lives. 31%, a third. Which is to say, there's a whole batch of older adults who are kind of swimming around out there. Gosh, I'm getting old. I'm going to complain about my illnesses, but I don't know why. What's my purpose? If you don't have a purpose, you don't become engaged. And I think most of us also in this room, because it's been in the papers all over, the loneliness in elders is one of the most important dilemmas that has happened out there. The equivalent, according to Stanford, to smoke 15 cigarettes a day. So it's harmful.
Yeah.
So if we have an opportunity, it's about kids, but it's about older adults.
So we're going through this book of Ecclesiastes, which really wrestles with purposelessness, pointlessness. It's one of my favorite books in the Hebrew Bible. Some of you have been wondering, why? This is a dreadful book. But next week I get to the stuff that I find a lot of life in. But I do see so much of that difficult exploring happening, especially when you have a bunch of free time on your hands, or perhaps this thing that gave you a lot of fulfillment before, it's gone, or maybe you're still doing it, but it's just not as fulfilling anymore. You have kids. The kids are all grown up, and they don't call as often as they should. I'm one of those kids, by the way, that doesn't call as often as I should. Right, Stephanie? Yes. She's like, do you want to know why your parents talk to you on the phone so long? Because you don't call often enough. Fair. But there's also this other dynamic, and that is, this is not just a relationship of helper, helpee. It's mutual. And I think going into work like this, volunteer work like this, that's the appropriate paradigm to have. Because when we're going into like service-oriented work, if it's like, oh, I'm helping the little ones, this top-down relationship, it can be toxic. Yeah. All right, room. What questions do you have? Steve will walk around with a microphone.
You said you were looking for more mentors, but you have 30, taking up a couple of hours a week. How's the capacity at Park Rose Middle School? For how many more could you take?
You'll want the mic up here.
As many as we can get.
If you got 30 more, could you accommodate that many?
We would. I don't think we would take quite that many this year.
Yeah.
But there are many, 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 many kids that would benefit, and there are many, many elders who would benefit. So it's hard to put a finite number on it, for me anyway.
Well, I was thinking it in terms of space. You know, where would all those people go, you know, many hours a week?
So there's a variety of ways you can mentor. If you're at the middle school and you go in and meet with your student in person, you go into the library. And you saw some of the shots of the library. It's huge. They also have an amazing librarian. He's young, he is helpful, he is wonderful, and he helps you find a quiet corner and you read with your kid, or write with them, or both. And you can pick your days, you can almost pick your times. If you decide that you want to work with elementary students, then it has to be face-to-face. We're not doing any online, and that's at Prescott Elementary. And we have a big room right now where there are about 4 or 5 of us at least working with a student, which has worked well. And we have ideas of how to increase our space if we need it. Yeah. You can also, if you cannot come in, we can figure out how to have you mentor online. And the kid goes to the library with his or her computer, and you're at home with your computer in general. There are a couple of situations where actually they mentor after the school day. So there are a variety of ways that you can mentor.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Allison Wiley. I'm with Waverly, although I don't eat salt and straw ice cream, just to let you know.
The gelato.
It's more about the gelato.
Yeah.
So I really like reading with kids, and I've gotten to do it at times in the past, and I'd like to do it. My question had been, can you do elementary kids? Because I find that sometimes elementary kids are a little more, I don't know, warm or affectionate or long-lasting in your life, maybe the middle schoolers. Anyway, I'm interested in doing this, and I'm going to give you my card. The elementary kids are of much interest to me, so I'm in.
Awesome. Awesome.
Thank you.
She would like to work with you in elementary school kids.
Wonderful.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
No problem.
All right. Any other questions? We're at about 32 minutes for those of you who are waiting for cookies.
Can I, back to the numbers that you asked. So this last year, we had 30 mentors and about 50 kids. So there's a lot of our mentors are doubling up, you know, this kind of thing. Our goal for this coming year is at, and remember this is at Park Rose Middle School and at the elementary school. We would like to have 50 mentors to get to 70 kids, because last year, sadly, we had, 6 or 7 youngsters in the middle school that we couldn't find enough mentors for. And the teachers say that the need is more than those 6 if we knew we had them. So it's the opportunity, it seems to us, that we live in communities. The school is over there, but that's our school, our responsibility. It isn't just, oh, that's a professional group, and I couldn't be doing this kind of thing. To be engaged with the school itself. I mean, I suspect most of us, as older adults, grew up with that understanding. So is there a place for us to be part of that? I mean, that's what we're looking for. Thank you.
Thank you so much.